Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to do the top 5 Chanel perfumes for the month of January. Welcome to 2025. I hope that your beginning of the new year was fabulous, spectacular, and I hope that you have a wonderful year up ahead. Fingers crossed it's going to be a good one for all of us. I'm very cautiously optimistic as usual because, as we know, life usually does the opposite of what we expected and wish for to happen. So I'm just going to keep it paced on a daily basis. Happy for another day. Like my New Year's resolution is basically, oh, I made it through another day. Yes, I'm happy and grateful for that. You know what I mean? I'm very humbly and modestly taking it slow, very slow. Perfumes make me dream, however, and especially when it comes to my favorite perfume brand, and that being Chanel. Now, I'm not sponsored by Chanel. I'm not in any way, shape, or form affiliated with them. So all the perfumes that I will show you, I bought myself or my family gifted them to me for my birthday or whatever. But I think the ones that I have here are all my own purchase. So I just rechecked. But anyway, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let's get to it. Click that notification bell to get notified when I post a new video. And you can also push the join button. Become a member today, gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. And everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Let's blend in the powerful number 1. I chose this as the first one for a specific reason. Let me first show you which one it is, and then we're going to get to it. By the way, there you go. It's Antaeus. I hope you enjoyed the background. We're going to get to the background at the end again. The future. Cold, crisp January air, but there's greenery. It's a little bit of a paradox. But I think life is a paradox. So there you go. In the cold air, we have green vineyards. How's that possible? In a dream, it is. Antaeus is also a dream and also a vision. I've reviewed Antaeus by Chanel in the Eau de Toilette form concentration back in 2014 or 2015. I mean, a long time ago. It's one of those first Chanel perfume reviews I did when I started my channel, my main Super Dacob channel. My Essentially Dacob perfume channel, I started it just a short while ago because I'm expanding. Different topics require different channels. That's how the algorithm works. But, oh, YouTube. But Antaeus, as per my review, and go check out that review from 2014/2015, is like a vision in a desert plain. It's like life in the middle of something arid, and it's a very fascinating duality between darkness. You can see here that black bottle. This was the first Chanel black glass bottle. Coincidentally, not a lot of perfume houses looking at you, Dior, they have this tendency of spray painting or coloring or lacquering glass bottles in different colors instead of actually utilizing through and through colored glass. Chanel does the through and through colored glass. So this thing is not just painted black on the surface. It is black through and through. Beautiful quality. But the paradox here is, so we have this darkness, but then the texts are in white, and we have this light revealed. As the perfume emanates, it becomes warm, and there is a very spicy accord. This is an early 80s fragrance by Jacques Polge for Chanel, and it is a powerhouse perfume from the 80s. There is a lot of spice in here, a lot of woods, but also honey, and also softness. Of course, we have the Chanel aldehydes. And another paradox is, you can see here, I have a beautifully sealed bottle from Antaeus, for Antaeus. And it does come in this, red burgundy ox blood smidge of, there's a lot of blue in here, almost tendent to purple. There's a lot of light where I'm filming right now, so it does bleach it out. But if we were to bring the box back to the back, this is more the true color of it. That darker kind of blood red. And then it has the frame in black, which in a way already announces to us there's a blackness that's shining from within. So I have my backup bottles. I didn't open this one yet. So. But I do have shopping links to my Chanel perfumes, not mine, but to Chanel perfumes in general, which if you do use those links, I might get some form of affiliate commission. And I don't think it's going to cost, no, it's not going to cost you anything more, but it does help out the channel a lot. So thank you for whoever did in the past already and whoever will in the future, hopefully utilize those links to purchase your beloved perfumes. Now, this is a very warm perfume. Starts off spicy. Antaeus starts spicy. It almost punches you. Yes, it has been reformulated. Which perfume hasn't? In the 80s, this one was a little bit more intense, a little bit more powerhouse, a little bit more shoulder patty for the boys out there, right? A little bit more business corporate attire. That was the vibe. Now, I feel Chanel has done this one justice with Olivier Polge's reformulations because it's a little bit less pungent. I liked it pungent, but I also like it less pungent. And truth be told, to me, Antaeus today is a little bit more universal. It's a little bit more easy to pull off outside of a corporate setting. This one is beautiful to wear out to dinner, to theater. You know, it's a very sophisticated fragrance within its reformulation today, especially given the landscape of perfumery that we're living in, which is really sad. There's almost no good new perfumes released, in my opinion. I mean, they just smell cheap. Okay, and by cheap, I don't mean that, you know, oh, doesn't cost much, because I do love my cheapies. There are some incredible cheapies out there, and I made several videos on the topic, by the way. So it's not that I'm being snobby against affordable fragrances, not at all. But when I say smells cheap, I want to say it smells like you're using aroma chemicals, like the cheapest ones possible out there. Nothing too complicated, something that is unbalanced, and then in the dry down screeches and becomes so annoying, and it smells bitter, not in a good way, chemical, not in a good way. Almost like a deodorant turned into perfume. This is why I'm showing you the deodorant stick. I love Antaeus deodorant as well. Now this one, depending which country you're in, is available also as a spray, but I think the spray has been discontinued in many countries, so you still have the stick version. Love it to bits. Smells very, very intense as well, and good quality. It's a deodorant that doesn't leave stains on the shirts. It doesn't leave that waxy residue. At least on me, it doesn't. No Chanel stick deodorants leave the residue on me. Love them to bits. It doesn't leave that white residue either, like many spray deodorants do. So this is a really, really, really beautiful one. And it smells really intense, like of Antaeus, but even more musky, civety. So there is that musky accord in here. Something that maybe in the 80s we would have thought it's civety even, animalic, a little bit toned down in the animalic department in 2025, but still way more nuanced and complex than most of the new releases today. And I chose this one for January of 2025 in particular because it has a heat inside of it. Even though the opening is quite cold and spicy and woodsy and aldehydic and airy and crisp and very actually cold, it combats that cold. It juxtaposes it and clashes within itself, almost as a paradox, because then there's that heat emanating from within. And it does turn ambery as well. So as you're wearing it, especially if you spray it in the chest area where you have big pulse and a lot of heat and the clothes are covering it, so it warms up a lot, you're going to get wafts of it throughout the day. And it is comforting, and it warms up the more the time passes. So it starts off cold, ends up really warm, and it's a beautiful perfume. As it's drying down, and whoever is lucky enough to come close enough to you and smell it on your skin, it does stay relatively close to the skin, right? it's a pleasure to smell it on the skin when you get really close to that special someone. So Antaeus for January is also inviting you and luring you into cuddle and to keep warm together. So of course I'm going to choose Antaeus for January to stay warm in the cold months. Yeah, no, by hook or by crook, we're going to stay warm. Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it. And if you wish to check out my shopping links for Antaeus, feel free to do so. Thank you so much. Let's get to number 2. Number 2, you might think, is the complete opposite. Again, the paradoxes you see within nature. It's January, but it's green. How is that possible? It is. Depends which part of the world you're living in. Here is the opposite of Antaeus, but actually not really. Let me show you number 2. Number 19, especially in its eau de parfum concentration. Very, very interesting. So Henri Robert created number 19 in the late 60s, actually, but early 70s. It was released in the 70s, even though it's a 60s formulation. So this one is a tribute to Coco Chanel. It is said that Coco herself wore number 19 before it was commercialized. It is a powerhouse of a perfume. However, Henri Robert created the eau de toilette and the extrait only. In the 90s, Jacques Polge delivered the eau de parfum. So he tones down the chypre aspect, that cold heart, that cold green galbanum heart of the eau de toilette, and adds a smidge of warmth to the game. So number 19 in the eau de parfum concentration, yes, while still remaining an echo of the 70s chypre golden era, it also adds a little bit of that 90s warmth that I've been talking about in other videos of mine lately. And in particular, when I was, I think, referencing my top 5 January perfumes, possibly in that video. And I was talking about the 90s and how there's a specific warmth to the fragrances in the 90s, from Hypnotic Poison in the early 90s. Gosh, now I'm having a brain fart of all the 90s, because I was talking specifically in that other video about all of the warm fragrances and a specific type of warmth that came out in the 90s, except for Chanel, because Chanel in the 90s releases interesting fragrances, like brand new ones, not new concentrations, but a brand new launch, for example, was Allure. Now, Allure, yes, it has a smidge of warmth in the dry down, but it is a sophisticated, alluring, floral, abstract floral accord. Like, Chanel was already projected towards the future. They were already envisioning the year 2000, how that is going to look. So Allure in the second half of the 90s, when it was released, it had that projection towards the future. Now, Cristal Eau de Parfum and Chanel number 19 Eau de Parfum were the two fragrances that in the 70s, respectfully, when they were first released, they did not have an eau de parfum counterpart. They only had eau de toilettes. Actually, Cristal only had eau de toilette, while number 19 had also an extrait counterpart in the 70s. But they were given, and they were both very, very cold, abstract ashtray fragrances, ashtray accords from the 70s, IYKYK. And Jacques Polge in the 90s gave them a slightly different zhuzh, a different nuance, a different treatment. Basically, he added a little bit of warmth to that chypre accord. He added a little bit more musk, a little bit more of that dry down that promises an embrace after a cold-hearted first approach, after that corporate type of, I am independent, I don't need you, stay away from me. Matter of fact, number 19, Eau de Toilette, is listed in my top perfumes to wear to court. You should check out that list. I mean, for lawyers, number 19, Eau de Toilette, perfection in my opinion. But the Eau de Parfum, again, usually number 19 is a perfume that I recommend in warmer months. Except this year, I am feeling that contrast and duality to Antaeus, to that warm, ambery heart and base of the perfume, contrasting that cold opening. Similar here. except we have that iris, that orris root vibe going on, which fluffs it all up and turns it into a powder room, a makeup room. It's very, it gives me Chanel makeup vibes, the smell, in particular, of number 19 Eau de Parfum, because it's playful, actually. You know, underneath that veneer, that surface where at first you think, "Ooh, this smells quite arrogant, snobby in a way." The person wearing this perfume is very, "Don't come near me, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. I don't need you. I just want to be in my own zone." And then if you look a little bit closer underneath that thin veneer of apparent snotism, you experience actually a person who spent a lot of time getting ready, preparing to go outside, wanting to be nice, wanting to be clean and fresh, putting on the makeup, putting on the perfume, like somebody who, if they really didn't care about society outside, if they really didn't care about anybody else outside, why would they be taking all the time and going through all that effort to get ready to go outside? They wouldn't. So you see, there's that little paradox of, oh, actually, they do care. We just have to tickle out of them that humanity. And the humanity is in the dry down of Chanel number 19 Eau de Parfum. And again, we are lacking the humanity, in my humble opinion, since a while now. So I'm trying to feel the humanity through these perfumes. And I think Chanel number 19 delivers a very, very particular, truthful, brutally honest, to be honest with you, brutally honest human character. It's such a human smell, number 19. And by that, I don't mean the vile smell of sweat and you haven't showered and you smell all ratchet. No, by human, I mean emotionally human. The fear of being judged, the fear of not succeeding in life, people pointing their finger at you. There's that fear in number 19. But then there's also in the dry down that reassurance in the Eau de Parfum that it's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay in the end. That's why I chose number 19 Eau de Parfum for January, to begin this year full of fear of the future. But then this perfume kind of combats that fear and gives me a little bit of peace of mind. So if I do find a link to the Eau de Parfum, a shopping link, I shall post it also in my video. So check it out. Thank you guys so much. Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it and subscribe. Let's go to number 3. Well, listen, Sycomore by Chanel. Usually, this one ends up in my September, October lists. This is an autumny vibe, an autumny perfume. But somehow this year I am really sniffing out the violet accord in the Eau de Parfum. So this is the Eau de Parfum. I actually, for this video, took out of my perfume shrine the 75 ml EDP in the 7901 batch code from a couple of years ago. Beautiful violet accord in this one. I don't know. Sycomore usually, reminds me of Twin Peaks, David Lynch, underneath the sycamore trees, the entrance to the Black Lodge, the Red Room. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is Twin Peaks. So, of course, underneath the sycamore trees is one of the songs, and the sycamore trees surround the entrance to the Black Lodge. So, obviously, everything is connected, right? I love Chanel. I love David Lynch. Bam. But Sycomore, only in name, not in smell, was already released in the 30s, or was it even in the early 40s, by Chanel. So, Sycomore in name already existed during Coco's lifetime. It smelled very different. It was a different formulation. So the only thing that kind of carries into the future from that past is the name, not the smell. Okay, so, even though currently when you read on the Chanel Les Exclusives portion of their website, you read the little description of this perfume, Chanel does state, Sycomore already existed in the 30s. Yeah, it did, but this is not the same smell. Let's just be very clear. So we have a big dose of vetiver, and then we do have it's a beautiful, earthy, wet, soily vetiver. You have those violets, you have the iris, you have smidge of tobacco. It's a very, very gender neutral perfume. I mean, to me, perfumes don't know gender. I always say that. But in particular with this one, a lot of the guys out there prefer buying this one. And it's one of the best sellers from the Les Exclusives range. Um, it's a woodsy perfume. I have reviewed also Lalique's Encre Noire, and a lot of people reference Sycomore when they review Encre Noire because they have a similarity in that vetiver, patchouli-esque vibe about them. But when Olivier Polge reformulated the late 2000s original release of this one in eau de toilette form by Jacques Polge and Christopher Sheldrake, he, in 2016, when the EDTs were discontinued in favor of just the EDPs, he kind of messed up the formula, in my opinion, right? So the 2016, 2017, 2018 formulas were too messy, fuzzy, screechy, something about them just, it wasn't my Sycomore anymore. But somehow, ever since 7901 and onwards, I have the feeling that they have Olivier has maybe tried to tone down that warmth of Sycomore and was trying to dial it down a little bit and rein it back into what it used to smell in eau de toilette form, which is great in a way, but also not so good because, I mean, they're charging us an arm and a kidney for their EDPs. And now I'm smelling out more the EDT of Sycomore again. And I'm like, well, then why don't you just call it an eau de toilette again and give us a better price, Chanel? And instead, you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of that going on, which makes me feel, I don't want to say scammed because I keep buying these perfumes. I love them to bits, so it's like, okay. Uh, if you love something so much, you're a little bit victim to it, right? So you're going to keep buying despite their terrible price increases. But I'm like, a little bit more honesty would be cool. I do love the extrait of Sycomore as well, but it's the eau de toilette. I would love to get that original late 2000s eau de toilette back again. I do have, and I cherish it, and I use it very sparingly. I do have a few bottles from back then. The liquid has turned really dark, and oh my God, the smell of it. It's actually, the original formula of Sycomore is quite resinous. On top of it, you know, being that musky, fluffed up, warm eau de parfum accord within the vetiver and the wet, cold vetiver, there's that, I don't know how to explain it because the change that happened from eau de toilette to eau de parfum was so drastic, and now the eau de parfum seems to be going back to its roots. I don't think it's ever going to go back to that quality standard that they had when they first released the Les Exclusives range, because they were very proud of it back then and they gave it their all to make it work. And then I have the feeling that kind of later on, just my opinion, of course, I don't have proof of that. I'm just, my nose is the only thing that tells me how things have evolved. But how my first formulations, my first batches of Sycomore have aged, first of all, like fine wine. And second of all, they're, I mean, hypnotic, addictive. I mean, you just bury your nose into them. Like you cannot stop smelling yourself. It's just that elevated. This one, very wearable, beautiful, love it to bits, but it doesn't have half the magic it used to have. However, whatever little magic it has, it's still beautiful. And interesting that I'm choosing it for January. I don't think I've ever chosen Sycomore for January thus far, but I have chosen it for January this year because I somehow I'm sniffing out, maybe because this one is slowly aging and that violet is coming through more and more, and I'm smelling a promise of spring inside Sycomore, believe it or not. That wet vetiver really gets to me. I'm very nostalgic. I'm of spring and just the snow melting and slowly the earth kind of coming back to life. So I am wearing Sycomore thinking about life reawakening. It's kind of like a promise of something good is going to happen in this year. Positive energy, positive vibes. That's why I'm choosing Sycomore. If I do find a link, I'll post it in my shopping links, although Les Exclusives usually very difficult to find outside of Chanel beauty boutiques or fashion boutiques. I mean, these are really exclusive. Also on the Chanel website, I think you can get them. No, I know you can get them, but not all the concentrations, obviously, because all the toilettes are gone. They've discontinued the parfums. They said that they're going to bring them back. Fingers crossed in new formats, I've heard. What that means, I do not know. I'm hoping they're going to bring out spray versions of their extraits, but maybe that's hoping too much. Who knows? Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it. And let's get to number 4. Another paradox. Seriously, because Paris Paris from the Les Eaux range is, again, a perfume. I'm usually prone to wearing this one in May. As spring is in full bloom, we're almost at the end of spring and it's almost summer. And check out my review of Paris Paris. I talk about this walk of shame the morning after, Parisian mornings, gray skies, it just rained, the streets are all wet. It's just like a movie setting. You know how they always wet the streets in movies because it's more cinematographic to do so. So even if it's not raining in a movie, but they have a shot of a street and the character walking on the street, that street will be wet. You can bet your bottom dollar that street will be made wet because it just translates better on camera, on film. So that's what I'm envisioning, this walking back home, your makeup is all smudged, you're wearing the same clothes you wore yesterday, and then maybe you forgot a garment or two in the house, apartment, hotel room of your one-night stand, and you're never going to see that piece of garment again because you're never going to see them again either. You probably don't even know their name. And that's the promise of a gorgeous spring, summer, sprummer. I'm feeling this in January this year. This is a Damascus Rose Patchouli Bomb with aldehydes in the opening notes. What a beauty. It has macerated so beautifully, marinated in its own juices. When I first unboxed this new batch a couple of months ago, I was like, oh, they reformulated it. But now that it's kind of aged a little bit, it got its oxygen. It's back to its original Paris Paris form. This is batch code 9202, by the way. Bought in 2024. Yeah, it's giving me January vibes. Even though it's like roses and it's all about summer and spring, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling this in the cold. I think this works for January this year. Again, promise for love, better times, people embracing each other a little bit more. There's that hope that I have despite the situation we're living in at the moment. It's like the opposite of what one would hope to see in the world. I don't know. Perfumes give me hope. They always make me feel like, oh, maybe if we all wore really nice perfumes, we would be less aggressive. Is that wishful thinking? Possibly. But it makes me happy. Perfumes calm me down. Perfumes make me more happy. Perfumes make me less aggressive. Perfumes make me more sociable. So that's why maybe it's a mistake to think so, but I think like if everybody were to really wear perfume that really suits them, that they really love, they would be better people. Call me Kreskin. Call me naive, but that's what I truly believe. I believe perfumes can save us. And Paris Paris is that perfect savior walk of shame. And we wouldn't want it any other way, to be perfectly honest with you. And of course, it has musks in there as well. It's so beautiful. And even though it's a Les Eaux concentration from the Les Eaux range, which is slightly lighter, you're supposed to wear like a waterlet. This one of the Les Eaux, this is the longest lasting one. I mean, this one lasts 8-10 hours on my skin. This is really powerful. That patchouli sticks, honey, and it does not leave you alone. It's a beautiful patchouli, by the way. If I find a shopping link to this one, I shall post it in my shopping links as well. Thank you so much for helping the channel. Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it. And subscribe. Let's try to get to 1 million subscribers. Wishful thinking. But you never know. Miracles can happen. And with that, the biggest miracle in perfumery is my fifth choice, and that would be magic, 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 Chanel number 5. Fifth perfume is number 5. And it's the eau de toilette concentration, and I love this. And I've been talking to you about the refill bottle for the black metallic container in 50 ml. No longer available in many countries, unfortunately, in the refill. This is the one you're going to find everywhere in 100 ml and 50 ml. You can take off, it's a magnetic stopper. You take it off and there's a spray underneath. But I love this one because it's, of course, it's much cheaper than these bottles because it's considered a refill, and you can put it inside the metallic containers, but also it does come with this plastic stopper, right? And you take it off and you got your metal golden sprayer, and the bottle is your class. I mean, it looks like literally like a Les Exclusives, which is why I'm thinking maybe that's why Chanel discontinued it, because they're like, well, hold on a minute, we're charging way too little for this. And it's basically the same bottle, just this is 75 ml, this is 50 ml. It's the same bottle as these, but just, much cheaper. But I remember quite a few of my colleagues when we were working in Paris during Fashion Week, in the showrooms and sales and all that stuff. Also in the creative department, whoever wore Chanel number 5 usually wore Eau de Toilette, and usually in this format, because it's also the least delicate bottle. You can just throw it in your bag and it's not going to get scratched or damaged like the lacquered metal bottles would. This one also is a little bit tricky because this is metal as well, lacquered. It can get dented, scratched. This is a plastic lid, but it's still sturdy and it really sticks on there. So this is one of those power horses in the fashion world, right? This particular bottle. And the refill of, see, it says down here, recharge, refill, 50 ml. Batch code 8101. The eau de toilette of Chanel number 5 is quite different to the eau de parfum or to the extrait, even though the eau de toilette was released almost same year as the parfum in 1921. The eau de parfum came in the late 80s and was introduced by Jacques Polge for Chanel. Prior to that, Ernest Beau did the extrait and the eau de toilette. So this is the original Ernest Beau eau de toilette. Well, original, reformulated, but the original number 5 from Ernest Beau is extrait and eau de toilette. And then we've had in the 60s, so by then it was already no longer Ernest Beau, but Henri Robert. In the 60s, we have had a Chanel number 5 L'Eau, believe it or not, which is not the same as the Olivier Polge L'Eau that we got in 2016. Very different L'Eau, but the same name. Interesting, same actually to what happened to Sycomore. So Chanel does reutilize its names from time to time, doesn't it? Then there was a Chanel number 5 Cologne, very civety, very animalic, which is one of the reasons I think it was discontinued, because of that characteristic that they couldn't really deliver after all the new regulations came into play. Or maybe they just didn't want to have a Cologne for Chanel number 5 because maybe they thought that cheapened its value for some reason. Wonderful concentration as well, very animalic. This is as close as it gets to that animalic accord, even though this is more floral than the more patchouli heavy eau de parfum. This is a floral heavy perfume and an aldehyde heavy perfume. You're going to get a lot of rose in here, and you're going to get a lot of abstract snow. Yes, snow. And this is why, I always choose the extrait of Chanel number 5 for December, sometimes even November and December. It's such a holiday fragrance. No wonder that Chanel pushes ad campaigns to nausea at the end of the year to promote Chanel number 5 extrait and the whole range, and the eau de parfum. The eau de parfum comes closest to the smell of the extrait, by the way, in its nature. But then Ernest Beau, and you can check out one of my many reviews of Chanel number 5 extrait. I talk about this. Ernest Beau also stated in interviews many, many, many decades ago when he was still with us, right, that it was snow that inspired him while he was working as a soldier in Russia, and he was kind of stationed in a place where it was snowed in for most of the year and very, very cold. And then when he came back to France, like that smell of snow is what ultimately inspired him to create number 5. And once you know this and you smell the extrait of number 5, you will smell an abstraction of snow. It's incredible. Once you know it, you cannot unlearn it. Now, while the extrait is a festive version of smell of snow, there's warmth in there. It's a snow that is fully decorated. Maximalism, darling. The eau de toilette is frozen snow. The eau de toilette is a landscape of frost. It's so beautiful and poetic. It's a landscape of frozen snow. And there are crisp, crystalline roses captured inside that frost, inside that ice even. It's an icy snow. And you see the roses perfectly preserved like mammoths in the snow for tens of thousands of years. You see them perfectly preserved, frozen in that beautifully clean, clear ice. You see them at the bottom of that lake or wherever they are. It used to be a meadow where they grew, and then it all rained in, and I don't know what happened. It all froze, and they just were preserved, captured in time. And it's almost like that smell of those flowers emanates from this snowy ice. That's Chanel number 5 Eau de Toilette. It is majestic in January. Seriously, on another level. This is, they also say with Chanel number 5, like utilize all the concentrations in one go. And they say start with the lower concentrations on the feet, legs, behind the knees, and then do the, the low midsection, a little bit higher up here, the eau de parfum, and then the extrait, 2 drops here, 2 there. So you're kind of like fading in, like from the eau de toilette at the bottom and then going up, 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 fading into the extrait. You can also do the opposite and try to do extrait at the bottom and go up, 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 and fade it out to the eau de toilette in this area. Either way you do it. You can also layer them. It's fantastic to layer the eau de toilette with the eau de parfum, for example. Also with the extrait. I'll post a link to, probably we're going to find this one internationally. I'll post a shopping link to this one. Chanel number 5 Eau de Toilette is usually not so pushed by the brand whenever they have their like special Christmas installations, holiday season installations, limited edition bottles for the holiday season. They usually do it only for the Eau de Parfum. And L'Eau, because L'Eau is the newest flanker of Chanel number 5 underneath Olivier Polge, but they don't do anything special for the extrait of Chanel number 5 unless you don't want to spend $20,000 on a Baccarat bottle. They do that, but that's ridiculous. They should also do a special edition of the extrait for mere mortals who can't spend $20,000 on a bottle of perfume, but they don't. So, that's Chanel and their elitism from time to time. What are you going to do? But they really forget number 5, Eau de Toilette. They're also forgetting Eau Première, but I'm not a fan of Eau Première anyway, so. But the Eau de Toilette is really their classic fragrance from the 20s, together with the extrait. So this one deserves way more attention, in my opinion. And since Chanel themselves don't really push this one forward so often, it kind of gets buried underneath the whole myth of Chanel number 5 because everybody's focus is veered towards eau de parfum and L'Eau. That's that. Then you have the fans of Eau Première that keep rebuying their bottles and they hope that they're not going to discontinue it. And then you have just a few people who love the extrait and they're going to buy it no matter which format they find. But the Eau de Toilette is not having the best time, which is why I believe that they are discontinuing most of the versions. Sizes of bottles and iterations, like this one, for example, in the 50 ml with the black container. So it's a pity. The Eau de Toilette used to exist in 400 milliliter splash bottles. Boy, was that a sight to behold. They were gargantuan. They were so gorgeous, and they were like $150. Okay. Now you get 100 ml for $150. I mean, anyway, we digress about their pricing policy, which is just absurd. But the smell of this one is majestic, and it really, really deserves more attention. It deserves more love because it's a perfume in its own right. It is a special facet of Chanel number 5. It's not just a concentration. It's not just, oh, this is the eau de toilette version of number 5, so concentration of number 5. So it's lighter. It's going to evaporate quicker. It's going to smell less. No, you got this completely wrong. Chanel number 5 eau de toilette, while it has the DNA of number 5, obviously, this is a whole different universe. This one takes you on a whole different journey, and it's a beautiful journey. It's a journey worth going on, just as worthy as are all the other journeys of all the other concentrations and flankers of Chanel number 5. But the eau de toilette is almost more worthy because we're going back to the roots with the EDT. We're going back to Ernest Beau's number 5. And the only two number 5s we still have from Ernest Beau today are the Extrait and the eau de toilette. So technically, those are the two OGs. Everything else came later. Masterpiece. Seriously. Seriously. Love it to bits. And it, again, gives me that icy, snowy smell minus the pressure of the festivities, minus the pressure of rushing like a crazy chicken with a head chopped off, trying to get presents for the end of the year, cooking, traveling. You know what I mean? Oh my God, the frenzy, the hysteria, the anxiety. This is snow minus the anxiety. It's so soothing, beautiful. And the aldehydes in this one just sparkle like magic. So this is the version of Chanel number 5 for January, in my opinion, because it's the one that allows us to go back to ourselves, to focus on ourselves, to be with ourselves again. God, I love number 5 so much, really. Yeah. I'll never get tired of talking about it. So if I find a link to number 5 of the toilette for shopping, you best believe I'm going to add it to this list. Thumb up the video if you're enjoying it. And you see I have a little Galaxy. This brooch from Goussens for Chanel is from 2017 from Carl's Space Travel Collection. There's a lot of particles of gold and silver in here, and this resin and glass. And if you actually zoom in really close, it looks like galaxies, but it also looks like a snowflake or a star. So I thought this frosty vision works for January. And then I have a little, almost like a Twin Peaks zigzag red room floor here to match the Sycomore. Anyway, the symbolism of it all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me blend out this photo to show you our full landscape. Thank you, Chanel number 5. This is this beautiful setting that I've chosen. There's like a book and a little bit of a drink there. Isn't this beautiful? We just kind of meditate here in our little brown beige environment, and we got nature ready to boom and blast behind us. Hey, I'm hopeful. What can I tell you? I'm that person. I'll keep being hopeful despite all the odds. Thank you so much for watching. Thumb up the video, subscribe if you had fun, and until next time, let me know your favorite Chanel perfumes for the month of January, and never give up on fragrant love. Love you loads. Bye.